Let's talk Tanya for the 10th of Iyar. In yesterday's Tanya, we introduced the idea of reflective love, the concept that when one individual feels a love for another and acts in a loving way towards another, the other person automatically reciprocates with love. And we explained also that this love is amplified when there's an imbalance between the two people. When the benefactor of the love is on a much higher level or has a higher status than the recipient, that causes the recipient to have even greater love for the one who is showering the person with the love. And we gave an example of a great and awesome and mighty king who goes down into a garbage dump, and he extricates a person who was sitting there, a commoner, a lowlife who was sitting there, just wallowing in the filth, and brings him to the palace and enters into a relationship with him. We spoke about the incredible love that commoner would have for the king. In today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe begins with the words, V'hinei, kechol hadvarim ha'ela, ukechol hachizoyin hazeh, v'godol yeser, me'oid, b'kiflei kifayim le'inkates, asa lanu elikenu. Exactly that which we described, this parable of the king, and everything, the whole imagery. This is exactly, and much more than that, infinitely greater than so, is what God did to us. When did God extricate us from the garbage dump? We'll get there in a second, but first let's talk about the imbalance concept. We explained that this reciprocal love or reflective love is made greater when there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance between a great and mighty king and a simpleton, a pauper. But that doesn't compare to the imbalance that there is between God, the creator of everything, and us. After all, God is infinite. He's not just a great king and a mighty king. He's infinite. To him, all of creation is really nothing. And although God has legions and legions, and he has an infinite amount of angels and servants, at the end of the day, God doesn't have that much interest in all of those angels. God has his eyes on the prize. And what is the prize? The prize is us. And going back 3,300 years ago, where were we? The Jewish nation. We were in a garbage dump. We were in the land of Egypt, which was a depraved land, an impure land. We weren't just there. We were also fully immersed in the culture. We were in an extremely lowly spiritual state. And yet God himself, the great and mighty king, he descended into Egypt. And by the way, no, he did not send an angel. He didn't send some sort of emissary or agent. He himself, just like the king that comes to the garbage dump, God himself comes down to Egypt, to this spiritual garbage dump of a place, and he pulls us out of there. And where does he take us? He takes us to Mount Sinai, where he gives us the Torah, he gives us the mitzvahs, and he enters into this most intimate of relationships with us. Every time that we do a mitzvah, it is God that is hugging us. Every time that we utter words of Torah, God is kissing us. Every time that we understand a concept of Torah, we are entering in this incredible soul connection with God. Yep. It's not the angels, none of the higher beings. God came straight down to the garbage dump, to Egypt, and he took us out. And he entered in this relationship with us. When we think about this, when we take a moment to contemplate this, we can't help but be aroused with an incredible burning love for God. This kamayim hapanim lapanim, this reflective love, realizing just how much God loves us and reciprocating that love back to God. Based on this that we've learned today in today's Tanya, in tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to find out the deeper meaning behind the wording of the blessing that we make before we do a mitzvah.